Okay.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened.
It was Instagram was like, you're done. You're done.
No more
Um,
conversations.
so, so as I was saying, like I go live a lot, on TikTok, and I realized that a lot of people, even though I always have like the topic like hygiene suppurativa,
Yeah.
putting the picture of my scars on my skin in the background,
Mhm.
the number of people every single day who are like, oh my God, this is what I have. Oh my God. Who like come in and are like, oh, my thighs look like that. I thought it was just whatever. And it's so wild. People, so I always tell people, we don't know anything. Like in terms of demographics, statistics, how many people it affects, we haven't even scratched the surface. There are probably millions of people out there who aren't even diagnosed.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's so crazy to think because it's like most people are like, oh, it's just an ingrown, I'm gonna go get it fit. No. Like go to a derm, go to an actual doctor, or keep going and keep researching until you're able to find an answer.
Right.
Even if it's the smallest answer to give you some type of leadway because
Right.
I
And people who have misdiagnoses. I mean, I see viral videos and I get tagged all the time of like there was this one girl on Instagram that like she's in urgent care with her boyfriend and he's like, yeah, she keeps getting these recurring boils and we keep going to the ER and they're getting INDs and then but they don't know what it is. And then this other girl who like was on vacation and she shared it, it went super viral, but she got a giant flare on her boob. And then she's talking about like they're doing a breast reduction, they're doing this, and in my head I'm like, girl, you got HS.
right.
Like go see a dermatologist. Like I'm like, if you want the breast reduction, go for it. But before you have this invasive surgery,
Exactly.
like there's things that you can do. And it was just so crazy how like there's just so many people out there who are dealing with these things, and they're going to seek medical care, but maybe not in the right way. Because as you know, like you have to see a dermatologist, and it has to be someone who knows. And I'm just excited about the education happening in the medical industry, in the medical community itself, about better care for us, which is
Yes,
incredible.
yes. It makes me so happy to see so many doctors now to just say, "Hey, I'm doing research here. I'm partnering with this HS patient. I'm doing clinical trials. I'm hosting summits so that I can learn and I can go back and encourage and educate my colleagues and say, "Hey, we've been looking at this wrong." The whole because the it makes me mad and it makes my blood boil up. Oh, you're overweight. Oh, you need to stop doing this. Oh, you don't wash up enough. No, because
No.
the most of us in the HS community, I want to say we at least have like a 15-step hygiene.
100%. Yeah, yeah. And the weight thing is just so hard because it's actually causing like disordered eating patterns in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a doctor, there's a dermatologist. One of my clients, a nutrition clients, was working with a dermatologist doing a study on eating disorders in the HS community because so many of us are told over and over again, lose weight, lose weight. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people they do it, they lose the weight, and then it gets worse
Yes.
because when you lose weight, what happens? Hormone swings.
Mm-hmm.
Gut the stuff happens like what that's all going to make your HS worse, and it's just sad. It's sad that that weight stigma is so strong in the medical
Yes.
community,
Um,
because again, if you if you want to lose weight, sure, I'm not opposed to that, but do it in a way that's healthy, that
and
you're right, because you could just you could lose weight in a calorie deficit eating Twinkies,
right.
or whatever. Like you could literally, it just there's ways about it, and yeah, I feel really strongly about that because it does more harm than good.
It does.
You know?
It does. It does. Because I was told that at one point of my diagnosis, and they were like, "Oh, well, you're way overweight," and I was like, "Well, how about I just stop eating altogether?" And they were like, "You can try that and see if it works, and then we'll come back and see how your body reacts to it." And I'm like,
Huh.
I lost weight, and we are still in the same boat. So please make it make sense. I'm like,
Yeah.
and then I started like really noticing and like listening to my body to figure out, okay, when do you flare the most? What causes your flares? Are you stressed? Or is it during your cycle time? Like what's happening? So really listening to your body and really listening to not listening to the outside notice, but
Right.
trusting yourself and making sure that you're doing what's best for you. Because at the end of the day, you take care of you. Nobody
A
you can't.
100%. And you live in your body. You're the expert in your body,
That
right? And like there's this quote of someone's like, you can go to a doctor and they're gonna tell you how to like do something. I'm like, I've been living with this condition for 20 years. You took 2-hour lecture on it. Like, listen to me, you know? I always tell people when it comes to, because everyone, there's so many different triggers, right? Like with
Mhm.
HS, right? We know hormones, blood sugar regulation, sometimes specific foods, but not everyone has a food
Yeah.
trigger. And then stress, and then heat, and then this, and then that. But I also people, the way we think about triggers sometimes is like, you just have to think about inflammation, right? We have an auto-inflammatory condition, which means that our inflammation default is like up here.
Yeah.
It's like our default inflammation level is like sky high.
Mhm.
So the way that I feel, it's kind of the way that I, it's like, but it's like the picture I give myself is like, I managed to stay in remission because my goal is to keep my inflammation here. So then that way, this is my threshold. If I cross this threshold, I'm in flare zone.
Mhm.
So yes, heat, stress, my period, whatever, things happen. I wear the wrong thing that scratches my skin. You know how it is.
Exactly.
Anything, right?
Exactly.
Whatever. Food, one of my trigger foods, because I do have a few. But as long as I'm doing everything else to mostly keep my inflammation down, yes, it'll hit that barrier. But if it crosses it up, then I flare. So
Mhm.
that's how I figure, because like we all have triggers, but it's about inflammation, and
Ex-
so many things impact inflammation that
Exactly.
it's you have to have this like kind of like comprehensive view of it. But yeah, I don't know. That's the way I see it. I'm like, it's not about specific things so much as general inflammation,
Exactly.
that it's like an uphill battle.
And it's different for everyone. I hate when they're like, "Oh, everyone is in the same boat. If you guys eat this, if you guys," and it's like, no, I can eat something that Cristi may not eat because
Right.
it causes flare. It can be the same way around. So that's always not the case. So it's different for everyone. Although we have the same condition, it ranges. It
Right.
ranges. A lot of
And that's the hardest thing about finding solutions for this condition, right?
exactly,
People are always asking me like, well, how did you get into remission? I'm like, well, that's the thing. I can't you can do exactly what I did and it's not going to work for you.
exactly,
So I always tell people like, my goal is to teach you to understand your body, to listen to your body, because that's going to be the way that you figure out your secret sauce, your equation, because we're all so different. And for some people, that's going to be a combination of diet, of surgery, of medication, of whatever, like different things. But
mm-hmm.
again, it's a different equation for people. Some people respond really well to doxycycline or whatever. I don't. Some people respond better to this. Like, I can eat, I can eat soy sauce now as long as it's gluten free, but some people can't. Or I can eat eggs, but someone else can't. I know someone who reacts to broccoli,
Wow.
literally, or chicken. Like, people react to the weirdest shit. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. But yeah, there's no absolutes with this
It's
condition, which is the hardest thing I think
kind
to
of wrap your mind around.
yeah.
You're like, oh, every 2 months it's something new, and every 2 months we are still gonna be there saying, "Hey, no, we need to correct this part of this because that's not right." And I'm glad that we're here, and I'm glad that the medical industry, at least for this sector, listens. They're not just like, "Well, my research says this, and I'm not listening to you. And here's all of these drugs that we think that's gonna work, but it's not, and you're just gonna have to deal with it." Like, no, no. I've
No.
even like started thinking of like going the holistic route because it's like, what else can I do other than get referred to Humira shots or get referred to steroid shots? Sometimes a lot of people don't want to be on steroid shots for the rest of their life. A lot of people don't even like shots. So, and I might be one of them. So, I may want to find something else that helps for me and allows me to get into remission. Luckily, I have found the perfect routine, but it's important to kind of say, hey, for those that are interested, to say, hey, it's other routes here in case you don't want to go straight to surgery. Because
Yeah, right. And that's a big part of my work, because I tell people like, I'm not against. I think when I was, like everything. Listen, I will admit, in 20 Christina circa 2016, 2017, I might have been a little gung ho on the like, this is the way, because I was so excited. I had just, discovered like food as medicine, and it changed my life in such a drastic way that I might have been a little bit intense. But with age and experience and
you were great.
maturity,
You were
we
great.
learn.
That's how I found you. I was like, oh my God, it's somebody that creates content for how to eat. I need this.
Yeah.
You were great. So,
Thank you. I was a little intense, but I think that, I've learned a lot with HS Connect, and, a lot of the resources that they have about educating. And I always tell people I support people and like in whatever medical endeavors, and like, but we just have to have informed consent, right? So if you're going to take Humira or Cosentyx or Remicade, know the pros and cons. If you're going to do
mhm.
spironolactone, if you're going to do metformin, like, let's talk about the labs that you should be taking. Let's talk about if you are taking spironolactone or metformin, so you might have high androgen or insulin resistance. Like, cool, there's a lot of dietary things which help those things tremendously. So even if you medicate, diet should still be part of your care plan, right?
Mhm.
Because I was that person that, like, I did the antibiotics and I did the steroids over and over and over until my body just stopped responding. And then I had a baby and my HS went gangbusters, like out of control. And my postpartum, the 2 years postpartum for me were like a nightmare, a nightmare. I mean, I was breastfeeding, I had flares all over my boobs. It was like extremely painful. And I was desperate. And that's what led me to just being like, something's got to give. And so, silver linings though, right? Because like when it started affecting my boobs, and I was like, not my boobs too.
Like,
That's what was
okay,
that was the tipping point to be like, okay, I'm gonna be serious about this. I gotta figure this out. And as a chef, I took to the kitchen, and it really was transformative to learn to listen to my body. And it wasn't just my skin. I had estrogen dominance and gut issues and blood sugar dysregulation issues and constipation and joint pain and psoriasis. I have like psoriasis and rheumatoid arthritis as well. So like I had a bunch of stuff going on that, again, I was able to just manage all of it under this umbrella of just manage, gut health, hormones, whatever, with diet, and it's, you know, life changing.
yeah, yeah. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, from where you first started of going the Western medical route to now actually taking things more so in your hands, how would you rate that for you as far as being able to accomplish something so great that a lot of us are still working on?
You know, God, it was hard. I also tell people it was hard, and I think that sometimes, like, you know, it took me 2 years between when I first changed my diet to get into remission. It was a 2 year process of still continuing to flare, still dealing, but there were improvements. Like the smell went away. That was the first thing that happened. The odor in the flares stopped when I like went paleo because of no sugar and dairy. I was really certain that was driving that for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of science, and there's an explanation. There's a lot of science to push like why that could happen. But and then the flares were less painful, and then they were less the flares weren't as they didn't last as long, because I used to have like really chronic like areas, like 3 month long flares that just wouldn't heal. So it was crazy all of a sudden, like, oh, week turnaround, 5 day turnaround, 2 day turnaround. I'm like, oh, way better. So there was, yeah, I'm like, okay, we're moving in the right direction. But it was still really hard. And through that process, there was tweaking, and there was times that I cried. I cried a lot. I went to the doctor a lot. But back then I was married to a sailor, so I went to a military hospital, which they were the worst, and would fight with the doctors there all the time. And because they wouldn't believe me that I was getting better with diet. I'm like, no, but it's helping. I'm just here to like talk to you about it to see if. But it was hard. How it changed my life, I would say 11 to 100 off the charts scale, because it wasn't just my skin. I always tell people that it's not just my skin, it's everything. Like, my life improved in every way. Like, my joint pain, energy levels, brain fog, like it affected my ADHD. I mean, everything. Like, I mean, into the way that I feel better now at almost 40 than I did in my 20s when I was partying and drinking and eating like shit. So like, it's wild to me to think that, like, how I ever even survived, honestly.
Like, I actually figured it out. I actually took the time, and here we are, which is amazing because a lot of us, it's hard to go through that process, let alone to stick to that consistency of a 2 year journey of
Yeah.
really trying to figure that out. And it's not easy. It's a lot of dark
Dark,
days.
crying. I cried to my mom a lot. But I think for me, I had a baby. I felt like I need to do this for my kid. I'm not going to make it. I felt like I'm not going to get to 40. I really thought I was about to turn 30 when I started. It was literally 30 days before my 30th birthday. And I was like, I can't make it to the day without napping. Like, I'm in so much pain. I'm not going to be able to be here for my child. And again, it was that improvement little by little. And again, there were different things. Like, while there were parts of that journey that were really hard, like I had a toddler, I was in Hawaii with no support system because, again, military spouse. But at the same time, at that point, I was part-time working from home. So I was a full-time mom, which is hard in of itself. But if I had to work a full-time job out of the house, that would have made maybe the process harder. Um, and I'm a chef, so I know food. So cooking is easy for me. And that is 100% a giant advantage I had. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, But again, I made a business out of it, literally, and I wrote 2 cookbooks because I'm like, actually, I can make this taste good.
I can actually help where it's not nasty. It's amazing. You'll want to
Yeah,
come back and eat.
right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
enjoyed the process. I tell people that I'm like, this lifestyle is easy for me because I literally like what I eat all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps.
And it does. It does. I always get teased about it because it's like, oh, you're always just eating leaves and twigs, and I'm like, but I like eating asparagus. I like eating sweet potatoes. I like eating certain stuff that doesn't
Yeah.
cause extra. Like, no, I like to just have a little bowl and go about my day. And everyone's like, oh, well, how do you eat? Like, how do you feel full? I feel full. I feel great. And I'm able to regulate my body because I'm listening to my body. I'm putting in the stuff that it wants, seeing that it's working. Hopefully, fingers crossed that it stays this way. But yes, because flares are unpredictable, I would say, when
Yes.
it comes to, because you can feel like you're in a good space, you're in remission, you're like, okay, I have a good routine, and then you just fall through the cracks. Have you ever experienced that to where you got in a really good spot with, being in remission, having a manageable state of your flares, and then it just kind of fall through the cracks?
Yeah, so there were since 2016 again. I would say 2016 like and a half. So maybe let's say 2017 was 27 since 2017 I've been like that's when I say like in remission, right? Since then, I would say there's been 2 times where I like had a full on flare.
Mm.
I mean, I've had like little breakthrough. Like I got a wax, a Brazilian in
Yeah.
May. I've been actually just Connect workshop and never again. I'm traumatized. But anyway, I digress. But that was like full on, just like a topical. Like, I just can't. I'm Latina. My hair's too court, ingrown hair. It's not happening. Never doing it again. Anyway, that was traumatizing. But like there was one time. So when it was actually about a year and a half ago, I was in a really like unstable, chaotic relationship, and my stress levels were out of control, and my eating wasn't the best either. And I got actually a giant flare on my back that I had to have an incision and drain done. And luckily, it hasn't come back yet because I know that there's a high recurrence rate with the INDs.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, and over my life, I've actually had 2 like rogue flares on my back. And at that point, aside from the big one, it was a big one. It was like this big. Um, Under my breast started to like simmer again, not full on, but like the scars were getting red and puffy. They weren't
Yeah.
getting full, but they were like, and that's like things like my magic healer and topicals really helped at that point. But it was like, what is going on? And of course, I was in this horrible kind of unsafe situation that was stressing me out chronically. And yeah, obviously when I got out of that, that got better. But yeah, and then the other time was I got strep throat and then COVID, or COVID and then strep throat. So I got COVID and then literally right after strep throat, and I take, penicillin because of the strep, and antibiotics make me flare. If I have to take antibiotics for something, I will get a flare.
Oh, wow.
It's bizarre. And so luckily I don't normally get sick. Honestly, I hadn't had strep in freaking, I don't know, 15 years or anything. Or I don't get, I don't get sick anymore, which is another weird thing of changing my diet. Because as someone who was really sick growing up, like I said, ear, nose, and throat issues,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get respiratory infections. I don't get the flu. I don't know. I never get sick. But I got I got COVID strep. It was like back to back, and I took, and that made I got a little flare on my inner thigh, which was a little scary because it was after it was the first flare on my thigh since I got my tattoos done, and I was a little bit like,
Oh,
but it was
yeah.
well placed, so it was like in the middle of the lemon, so it didn't affect the design.
I love
I was like, all right, a win is a win. A win is a win.
it. It's a win because now you can't even tell us. Oh, yeah.
No, you can't tell.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Um,
Do you
but I
feel?
don't. No,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that I tell people like breakthrough flares, even after you have it under control, don't freak out because you have your toolkit. Just refer back to your toolkit.
Exactly.
Like I am not cured of this. Like there is no cure. I will live with and manage HS for the rest of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
I have my toolkit that evolves. Like I am preparing for menopause. Like you don't even know. Like getting ready for 40 because I'm about to hit 40, and then perimenopause starts, and then this is just I'm about to go through it hormone wise.
I'm
So
not ready.
I'm getting ready for battle here.
Absolutely, absolutely. You got all of your kits that you need, and we're not looking back. We're strapping up by the boots, and we're going in head first because we're prepared and we're ready for the fight and the battle that is coming. So you're well prepared.
Yeah.
You're one of the strongest warriors that I have ever came across. So
Thank
I just
you.
want to give you your flowers because you are doing an amazing job. You
Thank you.
are staying strong because I know it's not easy. I know it's getting up every day, turning on the camera, reaching out to people, editing. It's not easy. So thank you for continuing to do it because I appreciate it.
Oh,
It,
thank you.
it touches me. I know this is not just all of you. You have so many different aspects of your life that needs your attention, that has your attention. And from my side, looking in the window, in the little window, you're doing amazing because you are
Thank
just
you.
so many bars, and I'm like, that's amazing. And to hear your story is amazing. It's beautiful. Everyone, just to hear everyone's story and to hear where they started to where they are now
Yeah.
is immaculate. Like the impact that you have is amazing. Like,
Thank you.
uh,
Thank you. I mean, I needed to hear that today. I was actually like getting like because I really would love to be able to do HS advocacy full time, you know, like I love because again I was a full-time content creator with my food blog, and after I sold the Castaway Kitchen I thought I would give up content creation altogether, but honestly I couldn't walk away from the HS community.
yeah,
And so I've been putting a lot of effort into my TikTok, which is where my, you know, and now Instagram as well, but where my big, you know, HS community is.
uh-huh.
And I keep thinking like if I could do that full time the way I used to do my food blog, it would be amazing because it is a lot. Like right now I'm doing private chef work. That's like my day job. And like it's a lot. It's a lot to split my time. It's a lot to come, you know, and film after I spent hours cooking out on my feet. And like and I
Mhm.
do feel so passionate because I know I help people, and like and I do it for the 13-year-old girl, right? For all the 13-year-old and child and all of us who had shitty doctor's appointments and had, you know, like the horrible experiences that we all deal with, like stained bed sheets and sitting and like crying in the bathroom because we're like, we have another flare, or the splatter on the wall that looks like a murder
Exactly.
scene when a flare pops, like all that random stuff that only we know what that's like. You know, like that's why it's so important to talk about this stuff. Because when you think you're the only one, honey,
You're you're not. Everyone is gonna come. Everyone's gonna be like, oh, that's what that is. Got it.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
you're like that happens to me too. You know, and it's like,
you're not
yeah,
you're not
yeah,
alone. And it's a scary thing to go through, but once it's done, it's a sense of relief. It's a sense of okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be able to turn to these people and say, hey, did you experience this? What worked for you? This might work for, or I tried this. Did you try that? And connecting with different people, like connecting with different HS organizations. I had a chance to meet Brinley from HS Connect, and oh my gosh,
The
she is
best.
so amazing, so amazing. If you guys don't know who she is, please, please, please go to hsconnect.org because amazing. Like
Yeah.
her impact and her purpose of what she is setting out to do is amazing. The
It's
touch
incredible.
she has is mind blowing. I only had like 2 days, 2.5 days with her, and I was like, oh my gosh, like the next event, I'm there. Like if somebody got to put me in a suitcase, I'm coming. Just leave the
Yeah.
little thing so I can breathe. But yeah,
She's really like trailblazing, and like I mean she works so hard for the HS community. And she has such big goals, and I mean it's incredible what she's doing. I'm so proud of her. She's again incredible. I had the pleasure of meeting her in May, and then we did these like group calls together. And yeah, it's really impressive, and again really hopeful, like through HS Connect, the resources that they create, the way that they're connecting, you know, HS warriors with different organizations to again educate doctors, educate the pharmaceutical companies, educate the people, you know, driving the research is amazing because, like she says, you know, having HA sucks, but right now is the best time to have it because there's so much more information, and so much more stuff available,
exactly.
that it's incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Being able to connect with you guys is amazing. It makes me want to continue to educate myself and educate others and say, hey, this is my elevator pitch, and what else do you want to know?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
something that we need to know. I saw a video where they were actually going around and having people on, you know, locally on the street just hey, can you pronounce HS? And they would be like, what?
Shannon. Shannon was the host. I know. That was hilarious. It was so good.
Yes, yes. I was like, maybe I should do this for holidays. The holidays is coming up. We're gonna play a game. Everyone go around the table and pronounce HS, please. Thanks.
Seriously. But it's so wild because like so I stitched today. There's this surgeon, he's a plastic surgeon, and he does a lot of videos on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
You know who I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about.
Yeah, I do.
And
If you know, you
if you
know.
know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and you know that he says so much wrong shit. And
Yes.
it is so hard because like so finally I stitched him today and I'm like, listen. I'm like, because people always ask me what I think about him. And it's of course
Yeah.
it's difficult as like a civilian. I'm like, I'm just a mere nutritionist, like to tell a doctor that he's wrong. But I'm like, I learned from doctors, from HS specialists, and what you're saying is wrong, bro. And at the end of the day, he's just trying to sell his thing because he makes money from this. It's not like he's, like
Right.
doing this for like the bottom from the bottom of his heart. He makes money because he gets a lot of people who come in. But
Yeah.
like it's so frustrating, right? Because we do have to educate and even educate against misinformation that's
Mm-hmm.
out there, which is really crazy and difficult. And on top of that, like again, there's just a lot of misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're working with, again, like the AHSID, when you're working with HS Connect, and then these people who are connected to the HS, Hope for HS and the different foundations, like that's part of the work.
Exactly.
Educating and re-educating and correcting the I mean, even I used to say stuff that like wasn't correct. And again, now I know better. Like I know that there's an autoimmune and an autoinflammatory, and like yes, HS is not autoimmune; it's autoinflammatory, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
they're more similar than they are different, but that's still an important distinction, different things like the statistics, which if you Google it, literally websites will tell you like that like oh it affects Black women the most. I'm like we don't fucking know that actually. Like
Exactly.
we
That
don't know these things.
right.
Like these are statistics which are inaccurate because we don't have the correct data saying
Mm-hmm.
that smoking causes it, being overweight. So there's a lot that we're still
Right.
working on, and
We're
yeah,
learning,
it's
learning a lot of things. Learning and unlearning a lot of things.
for
That
sure,
because
for sure.
sometimes it's stuff like you said we will put out and we'll have to come back and say, hey, I put this out. Let me correct this because this is actually the right way.
Right.
So absolutely, I actually saw your video today, right before our chat, and I was like, I know that's right. Please, please, somebody say something.
So much. And it's always a little scary because I'm like, oh god, I don't want like doctor talk to come after me like all the doctors. But like again, I'm just like, guy, come on. And I've commented on his videos before, being like, you're wrong. Like, stop it. And
Right.
like, and why are you promoting these like shitty supplements from like? Stop it. I don't know. I can't with him.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. I think I actually unfollowed
And I
him because I was,
don't follow him. He just always comes up on my FYP because he has really crazy engagement. Again,
he
he's
does.
very clickbaity.
He does.
But yeah, something you said earlier really stuck with me, and I wanted to go back to it because you said something about like how when you flare, like when anytime you have an HS flare, it's unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to touch on that because I remember one time being in a group call with a bunch of like HS people,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that the diet stuff or even just management can be difficult, whether it's medication, whether it's your diet, whether it's whatever, can be difficult, right? But HS is unpredictable because when someone said something like, I might, go eat something that I know is going to flare me, but it's okay because I know what to expect. It's just a flare. But in my mind, I was like, but it's not just a flare because every flare is the opportunity for a chronic wound, for an infection, for I don't know how long it's going to last or when it's going to get better. For me, I had to really like, for me, and again, at that point, I was like, this is not the time because I get that some people are not in the mental state to make these perspective shifts. But I just want to put it out there that like, the way I like to invite people to think about it is if you know that something does you harm, because I know a lot of my HS warriors know their triggers
Mm-hmm.
and opt to consume, which that's your choice, your body, your choice, and you are a grown adult. But let me invite you to think about it this way. Would you purposely harm yourself in any other way?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how I had to think about it. Like it just hurts. It is painful and it can linger and it is unpredictable. So would you willingly like, would you scrape your knee on purpose? Would you cut your finger on purpose? Like would you so why would you do that on purpose? You know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You want to go touch the stove and you know it's hot. So,
Right, right. And I feel like we need to think about HS triggers in the same way. I know that the cotton, whatever, that underwear or that loose fitting clothing might not be as cute. Like who was it, Crystal, who's like, shapewear makes me flare, but I still wear it. And I'm like, why, girl? First of all, it's just so uncomfortable.
Right.
But I'm like, don't wear the shapewear. Like, there's just certain things I'm like, I get it. Like, believe me, no one loves food more than me. Literally, it's like it's my life. I have it, but I don't eat my trigger foods.
Yeah.
I will be at the best restaurant in the world, and I will still be, a 3 Michelin star restaurant, and I still be like, modify the menu for me, like,
Right.
and I was in France and I did not have any croissants. I did find a gluten-free bakery though, which was very exciting. I
Oh.
did. They have awesome gluten-free bakeries in Europe. It's wild, beautiful stuff. Anyways, I digress. Point is, there's always a version. There's always a way, whether it's a clothing option, a soap option, a skincare, whatever it is, your medication,
Mhm.
to do the thing that's going to make you feel better, and taking care of yourself and of your HS is so worth it. Because you're worth it. You're worth the effort.
Exactly. You are worthy. You're not worthless. So please, please take care of yourselves. Listen to your body
Yes.
and correct those people that are not educated properly and that is putting out misconceptions about HS and what it is and how it goes. Because no, it has to be stopped by us. Because nobody else is gonna come and step in for us and fight this battle for us.
Yep.
Warriors, and we got the strength. It's gonna take some of us to be encouraged by some of our other HS warriors, such as yourself, because I just spoke with Jasmine the other day, and I was like, the way you guys are, the confidence you guys exert is amazing. Just to say, hey, I'm gonna stitch this video, or I'm gonna put this comment here, so that so that you can go back and correct yourself, and then continue your work. You guys aren't belittling people. You guys aren't stopping people from putting out their stuff. You just want them to do it correctly, and that's all we want in the community. Right. That's all.
Yeah, and it does take, it is great to learn and to have the opportunity to educate ourselves around this. And, we're all have the same mission. We all want better care for HS. We all want HS warriors to have a better quality of life, right? That's something about this condition that, like, it is invisible in a lot of ways. While it's a very not, well, it's a skin condition, so you can definitely see it, but it is
Right.
invisible. Where no one will look at us sitting here and being like, oh, you two have chronic illness, you have a chronic. So people don't, there's so much that they don't know about it. There's so much that people assume that's incorrect, and just make assumptions when they see pictures. There's a lot of people walking around with this condition not even knowing what it is. And so you don't want the first video they see, the first piece of content, to be some doctor saying they're going to have skin cancer and they don't go get it cut out.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, be for real.
Be for real. Like, it's irresponsible.
Yeah.
That's fear mongering.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I always get a little bit scared to stitch doctors, but the TikTok doctors they're tripping. Like, they are crazy. They're wild. I'm like, how are you how are you allowed to do this?
Like, who authorized this? Did they check the checkbox for this? Because I don't know. But because it's needed.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that again, and I correct people even in my comment section when they start talking about things, when they people say breakouts, and I'm like, I think it's better to say flare, because breakout things are contagious, because or correcting certain language, the way we talk about things. Like, people say, well, I changed my diet and I cured my chest. I'm like, no, you're not cured, you're in remission. People might get annoyed because I'm always like, I don't mean to be like the annoying auntie always correcting you, but the way that we talk about it is really important, that we use the correct language.
Exactly. And we're just trying to help. It's not in a deceitful way. This is in a loving way. And hey, I just want to give you this nice little tap on the shoulder, and then you can continue, because we appreciate what you guys are doing. It's just doing it the right way.
For sure.
Absolutely. I know you mentioned earlier, I'm always curious, especially coming into the HS community and kind of navigating through life personally. How has that been for you, adjusting, whether that is getting into new relationships, friendships, or kind of explaining or having to re-explain your condition to certain people in your lives, or people that you think won't be accepting towards it? How is that for you?
So what's really interesting about being as visible as I have been in the last few years, especially again with my books and my blog, that it's kind of like everybody knows, like, cat's out of the bag. So I kind of don't have to. But actually, what was interesting is when I, like, in the last year or so after when I sold my blog, and then, post, dating again, right? So like even like my boyfriend that I'm dating now, I met him post selling the Castaway Kitchen and all this. So it was like a new thing. And that was like had to have the conversation.
Yeah.
But I still take HS advocacy very much as like, what I do for a living. So it comes up very early for me when I meet new people, like, oh, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I'm a chef and I work with people with chronic illness. I have chronic illness. I have hidradenitis suppurativa and autoimmune disease and so just kind of,
Right.
you have a meal with me immediately. I'm like, where are we going to go? I need to see the menu ahead of time. I can't eat five certain things because XYZ. So, but I think for my relationship, like pitch, it's changed over the years a little bit. Again, because I'm not actively flaring. But I mean, even with my cover up tattoos, which, I still have a lot of visible scars.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily, unless I have an active flare, which I normally don't really say anything unless they ask. I will usually point out my scars under my boobs just as like, you know,
Right.
I got scars here because I don't like, actually I had someone think like, I thought I bruised you. And I was like, no, I'm like, that wasn't you.
This
So
here before
yeah.
you. You're fine.
So, but yeah, I just, again, it kind of comes up. So normally later in passing, it's like, remember that thing? That's what it looks like. That's what it was, or that's what these tattoos are over, that kind of thing. And honestly, again, people don't care. Like, people don't care, like it's not one of those things. Again, I got that wax in May, and like, and at first, like, my boyfriend was like, ooh, fun. And then like after when it was the regrowth, and I started flaring, and I was like, not fun. And I was like, and I was like, this is not fun. And he's like, that looks like it hurts. I'm like, it does,
It does. Like,
Yeah. And
that's
so,
beauty is pain because, no, I would never.
yeah,
I would never do
no,
that.
no, it's just the ingrown hairs for me. And, again, when you have HS, every ingrown hair is like traumatizing because
Mm-hmm.
it's not just a regular ingrown hair, it's like ingrown hair on steroids. So, yeah, I just, again, it has been really nice actually being more vocal about it in general because it's not as hard as oh, this is a thing. And the cool thing is that now people come to me like out of the woodwork, like, oh, I have someone who, has this, or I have someone who also has HS who I'm going to connect you with, or I have someone who has HS who, you know, um, whatever, for a lot of different reasons because like they just I'm that person, like my mom's like, oh, my friend's nephew has it, or I have a private chef client actually who I sent her to the Castaway Kitchen to look at recipes, and she came back and was like, oh my God, I have HS. I didn't know you had it. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
it's so cool to like have those experiences and those encounters. I was at work and I posted one day on LinkedIn, hey, I have this platform. This is what I do. And this lady walked up to me. We've been working together for like 4.5 years. She's like, hey, I have this. I just never knew what it was. And until I saw your platform and saw that what it was, I'm able to finally get a diagnosis and get some help. And I'm like, wow, like you
Incredible.
sitting right here. Like
Incredible.
she have seen me like actively in a flare up and not being able to walk, barely able to move, barely able to sit down, and she's just like, oh, okay, well, I just thought, that was just something you was doing.
Yeah.
No, no,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's enlightening to see those who are not knowledgeable of it and then have that light turned on in them and like, whoa, like
Yeah.
this is an actual thing. Like I'm not alone. I'm not just going through this, and I'm not just brushing it over the rug and just kind of overlooking it and just going about my day. Like I'm actually able to take care of myself now.
Yeah.
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 And sometimes when you notice the signs, so like for me, when I notice the signs in somebody, I'll just like volunteer the information. And
Mhm.
it's been crazy the amount of people that so like when I was in Hawaii, and again, I think that I do believe that like, I don't know, at least in my experience, like certain like demographics, like we said, we don't know a lot about it, but I do feel that like, women of color, indigenous women, black women, like there could be something tied to like trauma in this condition. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have a theory. But anyways, in Hawaii, a lot of the Hawaiian women, right? I saw a lot of HS among Hawaiian women. And it was interesting because if I was at the beach and I was just, I don't know, I'm friendly. I make friends everywhere. I just talk to anybody. But I'm in the ocean. There's this woman next to me, but I noticed that she's wearing shorts with her bathing suit. I would just volunteer the information and be like, oh yeah, I have this condition, whatever. And then she's like, oh, I have that on my bikini line. I was like, no way. And I'm like, I totally do. Because I'm like, that's why you're wearing shorts at the beach. Like, duh, that's what I used to do. And then we have this whole conversation and we talk about it. And the next thing you know, someone's like, oh my God, I'm going to go I'm going to go see a doctor. And I didn't know it was a thing. So sometimes if you just, you kind of see the signs in people. If they never wear tank tops, if again, they wince when they sit or they stand, all those little things, when you know the signs, volunteer you never know. You don't have to ask them if they have it. You just volunteer, just that you have it. And you might be surprised that someone in your life does too.
It was so funny when I finally came out and kind of shared that I had it. I think at least 6 family members called me and was like, hey, I have this too. I just never want to say anything. And I'm like, well, here we are. We have it. And because I even thought of it like being a genetic thing, like, hey, my dad has it, my grandmother has it. Nope. And they just thought it was ingrown hairs, or, oh, we just get boils. Like, that's literally what I was told growing up. So until I was about 15, 16, I'm like, it's just boils. It's just the ingrown hair. It'll go away. And then I got one, and it stayed for at least a month and a half. And I was like, what is happening? I could not walk. I could not get out of the bed. I couldn't go to work. And I'm just like, what is this? I'm like, this is not just a boil. This is not just the ingrown hair. At first, they thought it was when I went to the doctor initially, and they were like, oh, well, go to IND and you'll be fine and you'll go home. And then I came back, and in comes a swarm of doctors, and they're like, oh, okay. Everybody leaves, and then, oh, you have HS. Cool. See you later. Like, here's some Doxy, and you have a nice day. And I'm like, what? Like,
yeah, I know.
Definitely being that person of having that, hey, I just want to recommend this in case you do have it. This is where I started. This is how I am now. It's a way out. It's a way to get to the other side. You just have to be open to being that person that is open to saying, hey, I have this. You may have this. I don't want to self-diagnose you, but I'm just helping to kind of say, hey, this is something you may have and you might want to look into, because, like Brinley said, this is the perfect time to discover you have it.
Yeah, for sure. I always tell people, I'm like, when I meet someone maybe, or even in my comment section, people who are like, I think I might have this. I'm like, okay, step 1, go find a dermatologist, check HS Connect. They have a directory, look at their resources, find a doctor on their websites. I'm like, and if you need something just to help in the meantime, just because your skin's bothering you, I'm like, use Head and Shoulders, Hibit Cleanse, a tea tree soap, whatever. I'm like in the shower. I'm like, get a flare care kit going. I'm like, cut out some sugar, because honestly, I feel like that's probably one of the recommendations that I would feel like applies to almost everybody. But eating less sugar always helps.
Yeah.
I'm like, eat less sugar, eat more protein. I'm like, drink more water. I'm like, start there and go see a doctor and see what happens. And for so many people, it's wild, right? I have people who just change their deodorant to a natural deodorant and it clears up. I have people who put soda and it clears up. I have people who like the most random things, and I'm like, that must be nice. Stop shaving and it goes away, or whatever, like I also, I'm like, no, I'm like, I had to do everything and then some. I had to like change my diet, my deodorant, my soaps, my makeup, like not toxic, give up, like stop using tampons. I had to do like everything. I had to go 110% all in, but again, not everybody, some people have really good success with the most minor changes,
and that's it. No, sometimes you have to go through the ups and the downs and the twists and the turns and kind of spiral out a little bit until you find what works for you. But once you find what works for you, I feel like you get in a good groove. You get in a good spot to where you're like, okay, I can do this. This can be my everyday, and it's a good feeling because you feel that sense of relief. You feel that sense
of control. Honestly, I know it sounds crazy, but you can feel so out of control with HS, where you feel like you are literally a spectator to your own life and body. And when you finally understand what's happening, you're like, oh, I have a say in this. Hold on. I have a little bit of, I have a say in this. It is for me, that was like, okay, hold on, game changer. Because it really is when people the worst is not knowing. Say is when you feel like I have no idea why I flare, when I flare, because nothing. That is so scary. And I was like that.
And just making it worse.
That was
It's
my
so
whole, and that was most of my life. I mean, literally, I was so disconnected from my body. It wasn't until postpartum. So I got it just when I was 13. It wasn't until I was 29, 30 that I finally started connecting some dots,
yeah.
Um, I used to not be an in tune person. It's crazy, like at all. I'm telling you, I disassociated from the physical experience. I was just like, this sucks. I don't
Yeah.
wanna deal.
Yeah, no, I was the same way. I think it took me a while after I received my diagnosis to kind of accept it and be like, oh, I have to live with this for the rest of my life. Like, oh, I'm going to deal with this for every other month, every day, possibly. Like, okay. For I think like a year and a half, I was just like, okay, this
Yeah.
is what it is. It's going to be a part of me, and I'm just going to continue to do what I do and not
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
Which
Hey, I know. I know. Hi, Paul. Yeah, it is. It's really crazy. Like I was looking back at one of my old food journals from like 2015. I used to have like 14 to 16 active flares at a time.
wow.
It was bad. Like I forget how bad it was. I forget how debilitating it was,
Yeah.
which is also probably why I was so motivated, though. And I think that as even with the improvements, although two years to stop flaring, the improvements were just enough because it was extremely, it was bad. And for me, it was a lot like on the inner thigh, like both sides, the groin area, bikini line, like the under boob. So it was just. It was bad. It was extremely uncomfortable. And again, you get used to the pain, right? We are like pros at living in pain.
Yeah.
Actually, Jaya the Giant, she's great. She was at the HS workshop, and she was saying that she's like, even right now, I'm sitting here, and my pain is probably, I don't know, out of 5 or 6. She's like, that's my normal.
Yeah.
We become used to. We're literally walking around in pain that most people would freak out. They couldn't even operate. So we almost lose our meters off because it's broken. We're just used to
That's how
dealing like
just like through the roof. Like, oh, this is normal. Like,
right.
what?
Right. And so we get used to that. And then, so that was why for me, it was such a, like, holy moly, like when the pain
Mhm.
improved and, that it was just such a, like, yeah, I feel like I spent most of my life operating at like 25, 20%, literally, like, and then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, now I'm capable of so much more because, like, pain is exhausting.
Yeah.
So when you're not in chronic pain,
Your energy kind of just spikes.
spikes
Yeah.
through the roof. I always tell people, you're not tired, you're not lazy, you're in chronic pain.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just people that's like where you're tired because your body is fighting a battle 24/7. You know. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it can be really crazy. Sometimes I forget. It's easy
Yeah.
to forget how bad it was.
Oh yeah.
Just wild.
No, absolutely. I think it's hard for me because I'm in a state to where I'm not in so much pain to where I was before, to where it's like, oh, well, what do I do now? How do I go and enjoy life now that I have all of this energy? What was one of the top things that you had on your list or that you knew you wanted to do once you got
Yeah.
in that good place for you?
So for me, it was I was in Hawaii back then. But it was like I started hiking, I started working out. Like I never really like enjoyed working out, but I fell in love with weight training, with like
Oh, yeah.
weightlifting. And I remember there was a point where like I wasn't in remission yet, but I was doing AIP. It was still my elimination phase, and I did this one hike, right? Called Cocoa Head, which is like this big hike on Oahu. It's like this crazy train, right? Train track thing up a mountain. These big wooden steps, and it's like 1,000 steps up. It's wild. Anyways, and I did it, and it took me almost 2 hours. And when I got home, I flared. I almost got like the flu. My body shut down. It took me 3 days to recover. A year later, I did that hike in 45 minutes, like nothing. Like in half the time, didn't get sick, felt amazing. And that was like, for me, like those were the things that I was like, yes, hell yes. Like this is who I want to be. I want to be the person who can come and do this stuff. I want to be the person who can take my kid on a hike and go to the beach and play and run around and like be active. I want to be an active person because that was one of the things that like I felt that I was always too scared. You know, I wouldn't paddleboard, I wouldn't do this, I didn't want to kayak because I didn't want to sit on my butt too long, or I didn't want to bike ride because I couldn't this. So I would always pass up and kind of be like, you know, it's almost like I was scared of doing things. So for me now, it's the kind of like I can do anything. I started doing dancing lessons. I started doing like salsa lessons, Zumba. Like I just want to do all the things. So it was just really cool. Like in a lot of ways, I mourned for the young girl that passed up so many things out of fear and pain. But you know, I think I've made up for not lost time.
Absolutely. I was just gonna say you are able to do everything that you were not able to do and more. Live life on the edge and continue to empower others. What would be something that you can say to those that are out there that are trying to find their way, trying to get their balance, especially after, you know, being diagnosed or being thrown into something that is hard to accept, and knowing that you were once there, but you're on the other side. You're taking hikes, you're doing runs, you're being able to go dance and have the time of your life and really enjoy life. What would you say to those people that are not there yet?
I would say that mindset is key, right? Because you can't heal something you hate.
Hmm.
And I know that it's easy to fall into despair. And misery loves company. And unfortunately, it can be easy to get into that, like, woe is me. And even within the community, I don't fuck with the Reddit groups or the Facebook groups because unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation, and B, people just kind of are down. I think it's important to surround yourself, like, again, AHSID, HS Connect, people on the up and up, right? Because and educate yourself, right? Because for me, knowledge is power, and it's liberating because when you really understand what's going on with your condition, you feel empowered for better management, right? And in your doctor's appointments, you're going to have more productive conversations. You're going to feel better and like know more about your body. So, like the key, the path to better HS management is through knowledge and empowerment. And so, instead of like focusing, like try to put your energy there, right? Like try to put your energy in the become an expert, read all the articles, read all the like the blogs, read all the articles on HS Connect, on AHSID, go to the conferences, go to the groups if you can, you know, start writing, keeping a symptom journal, keeping a food journal, how you feel, how things impact you, because you have the power, right? It's like we have the knowledge is in us. We're not taught. We're not taught or conditioned to listen to our bodies to understand this. So you have to be your own best advocate, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Like be an active participant in your health and be the expert in your body. Um, and if you harness your energy to that, it's going to improve your HS experience exponentially.
Absolutely, absolutely. I could not agree more than that. I appreciate you so much for taking
Likewise.
time and sharing your story, sharing your journey, especially for those who are moms or who are interested in going down into starting families, and how that was for you, and especially sharing your postpartum story of how, you know, things are gonna look ugly. It's gonna get bad. It's gonna get dark, but you have to pull yourself out at the end of the day. You're
Yeah.
gonna be the one that get all muddy, get all dirty, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. The end result is worth it. The being able to navigate and control your life and your condition is worth it. So thank you for continuing to do that. I love giving all of my HS warriors their flowers. I am giving you your flowers for continuing to do so and being so confident and so brave and doing it in a beautiful way that a lot of us need and a lot of us have held on to from the start of our journeys to now. And I'm so excited to see what's next for you and
Yeah.
how we are able to connect more and continue to empower those in our community, outside of our community, continue to educate and really hone in on that knowledge piece, because knowledge is power. So thank you again. It was such a
Thank you
pleasure
so much.
to sit with you and talk with you. Any last minute tips or any last minute advice that you would love to share for those who are is on the live that will tune in later and be able to rewatch our recap, or anything just in general?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Well, thank you again, Whitney, for having me on. And like, it's always I always say, like, community is so healing for this condition, and having these conversations, like, that's the best medicine, you know? So thank you again. I think my last tip, again, with just reiterating don't feel hopeless, right? you know, like there is hope in HS. There is hope for life for HS. And I'll say like HS sucks, but life with it, like life with HS doesn't have to, you know? And so like you are not like you're the main character of your life, you know, not HS. So like you can have a beautiful life with this condition and you deserve it, right? And you deserve to be beautiful, to have a beautiful life. You deserve to feel good and you deserve to be loved and have energy and all the things that you want. Having a chronic illness does not make you less than in any way, shape, or form. And when you know that and you truly believe it, you'll get it. You know, it's important.
Thank you again. I truly appreciate it. Please, 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 if you guys are not following Cristi, please ensure that you guys do stay connected with her. Stay tuned for anything that she has upcoming. And I will continue to watch out for all upcoming content that you post. And I appreciate it. And I hope you have a great night.
You too. Bye. Have a good night. Bye.